Yo, Brawlers, this is your man, Glass Chin, and you're watching Glass Chin's Boxing. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Yo, Brawlers, first just a quick thank you for your continued support of my channel. I broke the 100,000 view benchmark early last week, so thank you, wishing you all the best. I also gained 100 new subscribers last week, so thank you to my new Brawlers. Glad to have you with us. Just a quick shout out to Vitaly Vladimir Klitschko and Lomachenko and Usyk for putting themselves in danger to defend their country against the Russian attack. They are all idols of mine and a credit to the sport. I hope they all stay safe. Please support Ukraine any way you can, Brawlers. This is a boxing channel and I try to stay away from politics, but what the Russian government is doing isn't right. I am fully on the side of Ukraine and the side of democracy. Anyway, back to boxing. I'll be releasing a knockout mashup video of Tony Yoka and Martin Bakole tomorrow morning, and look forward to their May bout. I'll be doing a prediction video for that one in the coming weeks. So stay tuned, Brawlers. The purse bids have been ordered between the WBA regular champion Trevor Bryan and Daniel Dubois. Hopefully Frank Warren can make it a hat-trick and win that one along with his recent purse bid wins to hold the Tyson Fury vs Dillian Whyte and the Andrade vs Zach Parker fight. If the Trevor Bryan vs Triple D fight is held in the UK, I will definitely be getting tickets for that one. Speaking of tickets, I hope you all managed to get tickets to the Tyson Fury vs Dillian Whyte fight at Wembley. On Wednesday, I was only able to get 2 nosebleed tickets. After sitting in a queue for an hour, I had put 6 floor tickets in my basket just for the site to crash as I tried to pay. I had to rejoin the queue and wait another hour and a half, only to be able to buy 2 tickets in the worst area in the stadium, up in the corner, right at the back. I was screwing at the time, calling Ticketmaster every name under the sun. But great news, somehow the next day I was able to get pretty decent tickets. I didn't even have to pay through the roof for them. Well, great news for me anyway. I was seeing what tickets were left on Ticketmaster, checking if indeed it was a sellout, and suddenly 2 seats close to the front on the halfway line lit up and became available at face value. Guessing someone requested a refund, and I just happened to be in the right place at the right time. I was like a kid at Christmas. What a change 24 hours made to my mood. Leicester Square pre-drinks, here I come, baby. I'm guessing you all watched the presser last week. It really was a mixed bag. It was underwhelming and lacklustre in Dillian Whyte's absence, but it clearly didn't affect the ticket sales. I thought Fury was a little cringe at times. The Frilly and White knickers joke didn't really land and was more childish than trash talk. But all in all, Fury did okay selling the fight considering he was alone. I couldn't imagine watching a Joshua, Joyce or Daniel Dubois press conference if their opponent didn't show up. Joshua looked lost in his interviews at the weekend, looking like he was too self-conscious of saying something wrong. He looked a little more confident after getting interviewed standing next to Derek Chisora, and he loosened up a little bit. But there's something definitely wrong with Joshua at the moment, and I think he needs to get a sports psychologist to work on the mental side of his game. There's been a lot of talk of Tyson Fury retiring after this fight, but I don't believe that for a second. I think that was just talk to help boost the ticket sales, for anyone wanting to tick off watching him fight live off their bucket lists, or even to help the pay-per-view sales at home. Fury puts himself up there with the greats after dethroning the 2 longest reigning champions of his era in Vladimir Klitschko and Deontay Wilder. But if Fury wants to be remembered as an all-time great, then he needs to clock up a few more title defences. I like Whyte, he's a good fighter, and a current top 5 heavyweight in the world in my opinion. Maybe number 6 depending how you'd rank him and Andy Ruiz Jr. up against each other, but in my personal opinion I rank him 5th. Fury gets slated a lot for his resume, and you can't really argue with the haters too much when breaking it down. Klitschko, Wilder, Cunningham, Derek Chisora and Otto Wallin has to be his top 5 opponents. I personally think Steve Cunningham is very underrated, especially in the UK. It's easy to just remember him as the blown-up cruiserweight who dropped Fury en route to getting knocked out. But he's massively underrated as a fighter. He was robbed multiple times in my opinion. He was ducked by David Haye when they could have made the Undisputed fight back in 2008. To me it seems like when reading comments online that too many people have opinions on Cunningham based off of his box rec. They come across like they haven't even watched a handful of his fights, that they are just getting their opinions off box rec, seeing his 9 losses without watching anything other than the Tyson Fury fight, and just assuming that he's garbage. Even Deontay Wilder, a lot of people are saying Whyte will be Fury's second best win, should he come out the victor on April the 23rd, but I actually think, if not for him being towards the end of his career, Cunningham should be 3rd on the list after Wilder, especially considering the stage Fury was at in his career. Cunningham is a 2-time world champion. He beat other elite champions like Huck and Jones, and should have wins over great fighters like Thomas Adamek and Antonio Tarver. He was robbed against Glazkov at heavyweight, who later became Fury's IBF mandatory, losing to Charles Martin through injury. Steve Cunningham has achieved more in his career than Derek Chisora and Dillian Whyte combined, having been a two-time world champion and having 9 world title fights. So I'm not sure why people say it as a slur when talking about Cunningham as one of Fury's best wins, as if it's something to be embarrassed about. Let that sink in. 9 world title fights to Dillian Whyte's 0 world title fights. What was Fury at the time, like 24 years old maybe? It was a great learning fight, and I think Fury should get more credit for it. Don't get me wrong, I rate Whyte as a genuine top 5 heavyweight, and he is in his prime. So yeah, you have to rank Whyte up there as a top 3 or 4th win on Fury's record. But that doesn't mean that Cunningham was no good. I just wonder how quickly haters will start saying Whyte was no good and was chinned by a granddad, not giving Fury the credit for that win down the road. Boxing fans seem to have very short memories at times, and seem to forget the circumstances going into fights. Like when Whyte lost to Joshua, people seem to forget that Whyte was pretty much a novice at the time, and forget how much later he improved under Mark Tibbs. If I had a pound for how many times I've heard Fury's a bum who should have lost to John McDermott, how can he beat Joshua Usyk if he couldn't beat John McDermott? Never mind that Fury was a kid who had been a pro for 9 months fighting a veteran. People act like fighters go into their primes after a couple of years in the game. Boxing's a marathon, not a sprint. There's lots of factors to take in when breaking down the quality of opponent. Cunningham was a great win at the time, but had they fought last year when Fury was in his prime, then it's a different story, and not such a great scalp. Either way, wherever you rank Whyte, if Fury beats him, even though it's a top win and will be near the top of Fury's wins, beating Whyte doesn't do a lot for Fury's legacy. This win alone is kind of just another piece of the puzzle. Fury needs the Usyk, Joshua, or even Andy Ruiz Jr. fights to cement his place in history as the best of his era and in the conversation as the top 10 all-time great heavyweight. The Vladimir Klitschko and Deontay Wilder wins in time will be viewed in the same breath as Lewis Holyfield, Ali Foreman, Liston Patterson, Marciano Lewis, and so forth, whereas the Whyte fight will just be another notch on the belt. This fight is more of an event, it's a happening, the biggest purse bid in history, the possibility of the biggest British crowd in history. But how do Fury and Whyte match up in terms of levels? I will do a full prediction video next week after viewing their latest bouts, although I kind of already have an idea where I'm going to be putting my money. This fight is huge in terms of exposure, as I guess in that way it is kind of a legacy fight, if not in terms of levels. It's going to be hard matching Fury going forward with the money on offer. How can he go from fighting Dillian Whyte in front of 90,000, possibly 100,000 people, to voluntary defences against fringe world level guys like Robert Helenius and Manuel Charr, outside of Andy Ruiz Jr. in America, or Joshua Usyk in the UK, which are both unlikely for Fury's next fights after Whyte, with Usyk unable to defend his titles against Joshua due to serving his country after the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Joe Joyce may be the only other fighter Fury can do big numbers with in the UK to fill a stadium. Joyce and Daniel Dubois twice sold out the O2 Arena before the fight was moved to behind closed doors due to COVID. It's an easy fight to make in-house, but Joyce needs a big name, a world-level opponent, come April time. The Lewis-Ortiz fight doesn't seem to be happening now. Not sure why after both keep calling each other out in recent months. As Ortiz was open to fighting Derek Chisora, and Eddie Hearn confirmed it was Chisora who turned down the fight, not wanting to fight a southpaw. Ortiz versus Joyce makes sense as they are ranked 3rd and 4th with the WBC. I'd make Joyce the favourite after Ortiz's punch resistance looked shot against Charles Martin. Kubrat Pulev's name has been mentioned last week as a possible opponent for Joyce. A win over Pulev wouldn't really help Joyce stake a claim as a top 10 fighter. Pulev, although on paper probably Joyce's best win, is no longer ranked by any of the governing bodies. I'd rather see him fight one of the up-and-coming undefeated heavyweights and ranked contenders by the WBC. Fighters like Aslanbek Makhmudov, Frank Sanchez or Adjit Kabayel. Makhmudov just had an impressive win over Marius Fak, and Sanchez just beat Christian Hamer. Kabayel seems to be left out in no man's land since his big win over Derek Chisora 4.5 years ago. Maybe he's willing to roll the dice and put it all on the line against Joyce. Big stadium fights against Whyte and Joyce in the UK add to Fury's aura here on home turf, but without beating Joshua and Usyk, he won't ever get that respect on the international stage. As it stands in my eyes, I don't think I could rank Fury in the top 20 greatest heavyweights of all times, even though he's dethroned the 2 longest reigning champions of his era and won every major belt and the Ring magazine title twice, all away from home. He just doesn't have the resume to match the great champions of the past, like Muhammad Ali or Lennox Lewis, who cleaned out the divisions and ruled on top of the game for years. He doesn't have to beat all the top guys I mentioned in this video, but wins over Whyte, Joyce, and either Usyk or Joshua, plus 1 or 2 voluntary stay busy fights helps to cement his place in the all-time top 10 great heavyweights list. At 33 years old, Fury has still plenty of miles left on the clock. Would you like to see him fight Joyce? Who would you like to see Joyce fight in April? Would beating Whyte and Joyce help Fury cement his place as the greatest heavyweight champion of his era? What do you think of Fury's record? Let me know in the comments section. I've posted a poll on my community page to see who you guys think would win out of Fury and Whyte on April the 23rd, so please go vote. I'll be doing a Fury versus Whyte prediction video next week, so let me know your thoughts, brawlers, and stay tuned for that one. And as always, don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video.